Securing a holiday let mortgage in 2026 could be expensive, complicated, and restrictive if you don't understand what lenders are really looking for. In this episode of Host Planet Bitesize, powered by Hostfully, I'm joined by Joe Stallard from House and Holiday Home Mortgages. Whether you're purchasing your first holiday let, expanding your portfolio, or refinancing an existing property, Joe shares 5 essential mortgage tips you need to know this year. Let's get straight into it. Joe, welcome to Host Planet Bitesize. What's your top tip to somebody who needs to get a holiday let mortgage in 2026?
I think the most important thing, James, is understanding that these mortgages are assessed differently to other mortgages. They're different to residential mortgages, but crucially, they're also different to buy-to-let mortgages, which tends to be people's default and go-to when they're thinking of property investments. So with the holiday lets, there are a very specific set of lenders, and these lenders are going to assess it based on the holiday rental potential of that property. So understanding the seasonal variances, the void periods, the occupancy, all of those aspects are going to come into how that mortgage is assessed, and it's very different to a buy-to-let.
Yeah, different to a buy-to-let and different to a residential. I think here the lenders, they're not so concerned with how much you earn personally. They're interested in the potential of how much that holiday let property is going to earn, right?
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And, they will still look at your circumstances. They do still have to make sure that they're lending responsibly. But typically, for most holiday lets, the borrowing figure is going to be driven by that rental potential. Your income is kind of a checkbox for certain lenders to make sure they want you as that sort of profile of client. But how much you can borrow with most lenders is going to be down to that rental potential.
And this is precisely why a lot of lenders, they want to get a assessment of the potential income of the property from a local property management company.
Exactly that. Their valuers they send out don't have the expertise in this, so they put that trust in holiday letting agents and who know the area, have data on the area, and are willing to put their name to a set of figures that property can expect to do when managed properly.
Fantastic. Okay, so tip number 1, it's not like other products. What's tip number 2?
Tip number 2 then is it's also not like other lenders. So you're not going to get your high street lenders lending on these type of properties. Holiday letting is a small niche area of lending in the UK. So it's not going to be your HSBCs and your Halifax who are going to be offering those products at this moment in time. I'd love it if they came into the market, but I don't believe there's any plans for them to do so. So specialist lenders support this market. So you've got to be aware that you're going to have to dive a little bit deeper with your research. Perhaps you want to come and use a specialist brokerage like ours to find them, but it might be lenders that you're not familiar with and you've not heard of before who are going to lend on that holiday property.
And why is it that the bigger lenders, the ones that we all know, for example, Halifax or HSBC, for example, why do they not traditionally get involved in the holiday let market?
I think traditionally it's a volume piece. Holiday lets have made a lot of noise in the news over recent years, rightly or wrongly, but it's a very, very small area of the UK housing stock, a very small proportion of the UK housing stock, sorry. And as a result, these guys who are dealing with massive volumes, who are really rate driven, driving their business through, small margins, but high volume, it's just not an area they need to play in. So instead, they're concentrating on areas they do know and they do lots of business there day in, day out. But then there's these other specialist lenders who come in and offer these type of solutions for us.
Yeah, and the specialist lenders, often they're not that easy to find. And I found this, years ago when I was starting out buying my first holiday let. You might do a Google search and a few kind of brands come up, but everybody who's involved in lending in the holiday let space, they're not going to come up in a Google search or maybe an AI search now if you go on ChatGPT or something like that. So I think this is really a good plug for you guys for using a broker, because you do have access to all of these specialist lenders.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so, but if you're willing to put enough time in, like anything, you will get there. You will dive around. You will find lenders who are going to do this. But will you find the best lender for you and your circumstances nice and quickly? It's not always obvious. So I like to think that we can help people shortcut that journey and really make it, a good experience whilst also getting them the best product for them and their circumstances.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage anybody. I think if you are looking for a holiday let mortgage, certainly work with a broker, because often a lot of these lenders, they only work through brokers. They won't actually accept applications direct from the applicant. So yeah, do try and use a broker like Joe, of course, at HHH Mortgages. Quick one now before we get to tip 3. So this episode is powered by Hostfully, the property management platform trusted by professional hosts and managers around the world. From powerful automation to best-in-class digital guidebooks, Hostfully helps you deliver a better guest experience while running a more efficient business. If you're watching on YouTube, simply scan the QR code on screen or hit the link in the show notes to book a demo with Frank Bosey, who's a big friend of our show and one of the nicest guys in the STR space. And don't forget, Host Planet listeners get 2 exclusive offers: $500 off onboarding for the property management software and 30% off digital guidebooks for life. All right, back to it then, Joe. What's tip number 3?
Tip number 3 is then considering that location and regulation might matter more than you think. So the best example I can give for regulation, other than the fact that people need to be on top of it for reasons other than mortgages, is looking at Scotland's licensing rules and requirements. And actually, that has a knock-on impact as and when you get that license and can evidence the license and the application as to whether a mortgage is going to be available. Now, a little bit more generally is this idea of location, and not all lenders will lend to all locations. The city break has really grown recently, I think, in the country, and not all lenders are comfortable with lending on those type of properties. Some of them are very traditional holiday let area focused and centric, so your Cornwalls, Devons, Lake districts, and that side of things. So that's really, again, understanding that lender, how they're going to see it, and their appetite really for the type of property you're buying and who you're going to be renting it out to.
Yeah, it's so important to do your research, because every part of the UK has different rules and regulations. England is different to Wales, is different to Scotland, and even on a really macro local level, things can be a little bit different as well, with things like council tax and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think really the point I stress here, just really do your research about the area where you're thinking about investing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fundamental. It has an impact for yourself as an investment, but it's also really then going to impact your lending options as well.
100%. Okay then, Joe, so tip number 4.
Tip number 4 is that different lenders have different deposit requirements and different stress testing abilities. So that basically means the amount of money you're going to need to put down as a deposit is going to vary from lender to lender. And then also how they treat those figures we mentioned previously in terms of the rental forecast. They're all going to come out with slightly different borrowing figures. Some will default to using 30 weeks a year. Some might go beyond that if we can provide evidence, which is then going to boost up your borrowing figure. Some might stress it a little bit more aggressively than another. So again, if you're finding that one lender's not lending you enough, doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the situation across the market. It's about knowing who to go for and what to do in that requirement. On the deposit side of things as well, James, until this year, there were only about 3 lenders who would do a 20% deposit. Most lenders were coming in from 25%. We've already seen 2 or 3 new lenders launch 80% mortgages in the holiday let space this year. And I know from talking to others that it's on their radar as well. So I think that's a real vote of confidence, I guess, for the holiday let sector, and how actually they're looking at these back books they've got now. People are paying their mortgages. They're not defaulting. Okay, what can we do to make our criteria better? Some of them are coming out with these now lower level deposit products, which is a really good sign for the sector, I think.
Yeah, definitely a good sign. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first product I got was with a 30% deposit. So yeah, to hear of 20%, it means yeah, it opens the lending up a little bit. And I think as well, if you've got a few properties and you're looking to remortgage, that potentially gives you more money to invest in future purchases as well. So yeah, that's interesting and good news that that's happening. All right then, Joe. So tip number 5.
Tip number 5 then is just really you can't prepare too early for this stuff. A bit like this is more of a general mortgage application point, I think, but being really aware of your credit file, what it's saying about you, your bank statements, all of these things, getting these fundamentals in place is going to make your life so much easier when it comes to a mortgage application. So, credit files, make sure you have a look at it and review it regularly. There's often things on there that we might not be aware of, or we might not have updated addresses and it's not telling a true picture. If lenders can't find you, they're not going to be that open to lending to you. So really getting your ducks in a row, making sure that you are presenting yourself as the strong applicant that you are and that your documentation tells that story is really important.
Really good tip. Okay then, Joe. So give us the lowdown on HHH Mortgages and where people can find you.
Yeah, we're at hhhmortgages.com. We are a specialist holiday letting mortgage broker who help people here in the UK, right across the country. We're completely remote based, so we will deal with you like a Zoom call or a Teams call, and really try and take the hassle out of this process for you and help you find the mortgage that you need.
Fantastic. And we'll put all the links to Joe and HHH Mortgages in the show notes. Joe, it's been a pleasure as ever. Thanks for joining us on Host Planet Bitesize.
Thanks, James.
Now, if you're applying for a holiday let mortgage in 2026, whether you're buying, refinancing, or expanding, drop a comment and tell us what's your biggest mortgage concern right now. The chances are you're not the only one thinking it. All right, that's it for this episode of Host Planet Bitesize. If you found this useful, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with another host who needs to see it. We've got new episodes dropping every single week, and all of them are packed with short-term rental hosting insights to help you. This is Host Planet Bitesize, powered by Hostfully. Until next time, happy hosting.